about the leadership changes and ethics, there is one part which comes under this particular topic is which is known as leadership styles and tactics. That what are the basic leadership styles we have to see and acquire, and what are the basic techniques on the basis of which we can just use those strategies in formulating the leadership in the present scenario which is prevailing in the organization. Because you must be aware about this thing, when we are talking about the leadership, it clearly indicates that the person should be very persuasive, person should be very good in communication, they can mentor the people in a very effective manner. Apart from that, there are a lot of other things also which a person should have. Then what are the basic styles which we have to take into consideration when we talk about the leadership styles and the tactics? So first of all, I'm just going to talk to you about one example which says that after September 11, 2001, when there was a terrorist attack and US faced a lot of devastating losses. In this scenario, Southwest Airlines did not go for layoff but also posted profit in that day. How? This is the question which one has to see, that how Southwest Airline is only airline who you know find out that okay, we are going to get the profits in that. This can only be taken care with the help of the leadership of Herbert Kelleher, who is the main person behind the Southwest Airlines. How they have done this thing, there are a lot of things that we have to take into consideration. So, with this example, you can very well understand that how leadership is going to be more and more effective, and how this leadership can change the scenario of the whole organization. So it is very important to see that what the people are behind, communicating to the employees or to the world. That is more and more important. So next, there are points which has to be pondered. First of all is the leadership style, that we have to see that how leadership styles help in the development of the particular person. Then Likkert's four style, then Tenenbaum and Schmidt's continuum of leadership behavior. So, as per the Likert 4 style is concerned, we are going to talk about different styles. So, number one is the authoritative style. In this, we have to be very clear about what person is doing and why he is doing it. That means, in this authoritative leadership style, what will happen? The person, dictate the terms. He do whatever he feels like, but he is very clear about it, that what he is doing and why he is doing it. This is first point in authoritative style. Then instills the same clarity in his follower. That means that he wants the same clarity which he or she is having in authoritative leadership style. They want that the same thing come into the followers uh, domain also. That means that followers should be very clear about the directions which they are going to give to the followers. Then they determine the end and leave the choice of means to his people. That means that they are going to finalize the end of the topic, and then they leave everything to the followers to think over it. That means that the followers are going to see whether they are going to follow the same person or whether they are going to leave that particular person. So this is known as authoritative style. So in a short term, we can say, or shortcut, we can say that authoritative style means that the person is going to decide. He or she is able to understand that what they are going to do and how they are going to do it. Then they must be having very clear things. That means the clarity among the followers, and they determine the end of the particular topic, and then they keep everything open for the followers, that how they are going to take up those things in positive direction. Then apart from authoritative style, next is the autocratic style. In this, they retain all authorities and decision making power. Autocratic style means that they are keeping everything with themselves. That means the authorities as well as the decision making power. You must have heard about this thing that there are a lot of organizations who are having a lot of workers, but the owners are taking care of everything, and they are having an autocratic style of working pattern where they are having all the powers, they are keeping all the powers with them, and they are keeping the powers of the decision making with themselves itself. They are not demarcating, or they are not decentralization the power of the authorities to other people. No suggestions, no consideration. That means they are not ready to take any suggestions, and they are not considering anything also. They are saying that whatever we have said is absolutely fixed. We don't want your advices for anything. They instruct on what to do and how to do, and then they instruct each and every person that what you have to do and how you have to do that thing. So in autocratic style, this is very very clear, and I think you are in also understanding that the people who are working with this type of style are totally uh, authoritative, and they are having all the power. They are not sharing the power with anybody, and they are instructing to everybody that what you have to do and how you have to do those things. Then the third one is benevolent style. This is another style of leadership which says, in this they are saying that they are keeping the employees happy and in harmony. That means that in this particular style, this is known as benevolent style, in which the employees are happy and in harmony with each other. They ensures better communication and relationship builder. In this particular thing, the manager, they work in a better communicated way with the employees. They keep their employees happy, and then they are going to build the relationship with the employees. So nowadays, if you see that there are a lot of good companies who are working on this benevolent style, where they are keeping the employees happy, where they are working with the employees in a very harmonious manner, then they are having a very very open communication with each and every person, so that everybody is having their own ideas and thought process to share with each another person, and they are doing the relationship building with each and every person. Then next is the coaching style. As I have talked to you about the authoritative style, I have talked to you the autocratic style. I have talked to you about the benevolent style, and now I am going to talk to you about the coaching style. What is exactly this coaching style? It helps the employees to identify their strengths and weaknesses. As you know, coaching itself says that you are giving some, you know, help to the employees in different manner. So this coaching style helps the employees to identify their strength and weaknesses, which is very very important. Then aligning the employees, they what they are doing in the organization, they are aligning all the employees together, so that they will work for the development of the organization and the productivity of the organization. This type of coaching style is very important nowadays, because uh, the good organization, they always think that if they are working with their own people, so it should be very clear to these people that how they are working and what are the alignment among the employees are there. Then they encourages long term development. That means that these type of organization or the managers, they think in the long term development of the organization, because they usually encourage each and every employee regarding the long term development is concerned. Then they issue challenging assignment when they are creating a very very harmonious situation there, and when they are identifying the weaknesses and strength of the employees, and employees are also agreeing on those things, and they are aligning the employees together and encouraging them for the long term development. In this situation, what they will do, they usually challenges the employees by giving them some difficult assignments, so that the employees, when they are in a better position, they can go for the challenges employee. Then democratic style. What is democratic style of leadership? It involves employees in decision making process. This is very important. If you see that there are some very big multinational companies, what they are doing, they are asking the employees to sit with the managers and discuss about the decision making processes, and then get the idea from his people. That means that those managers or the uh, management people, they get the ideas from those people. When the employees are invited for discussions in the decision making process, the management are going to get some ideas from those people. And in that situation, they are, what they are doing, they are creating a trust among each and every person. Then after getting the ideas, creating a trust among the people, then they are going to make some realistic goals which will help the employees to uh, work on that and get the development of the organization. So, in democratic style, this is usually seen when the employees are also involved in the decision making process. It will be easier for the management to identify the ideas, get the trust of those people, and on the basis of that, they are going to set up the goals which can be easily achievable. Then, pace setting style. This is another type of leadership style. This sets high standards and adhere on it. That means that in this pace setting, usually the management, what they do, they just set the higher standard and they adhere to those standards. That means that they want that their employees should complete that particular goal. Then they are passionate about increase in quality and productivity. So you must have heard about some organization who are really passionate about the quality of the product and the productivity of the product. So this is how we can do it, that the when the managers are really pace setting and they are setting high standards and adhering to those, so you can always find out that you can increase the quality of the product and you can increase the productivity of the particular product. And in this situation, either you perform or leave the organization is the attitude. This is the attitude of the managers, that either you perform or leave the organization. Nowadays, there are few organizations who are working on this pattern, but otherwise mostly people are not working on this pattern, that you either perform or leave the organization, because retention is also very very important in the organization. Because if you are retaining the people in the organization who are already working in your organization, they must be a backbone of the organization, because they knew each and everything about the organization and they have a lot of experience with the organization. So if you think in those terms, that no, either you perform or leave. So this is the attitude which comes under the pace setting environment. If you see the corporates, or maybe you can see the startup companies, they are working on this pace setting, this uh, model, which says that either you perform or leave the job, and they're setting up very very high standards for that. Example I can give you example of Byju's, I can give you example of Jero, I can give you example of some other good companies also who are working on this pattern, which is basically startups. Then the next is, there are different type of styles also, which is known as expert style, manipulative style, bureaucratic style, and participative style. So please remember one thing, whenever somebody asks you that how many type of leadership styles are there, maybe you can talk about the authoritative, autocratic, pace setting, democratic styles, and the coaching styles. Apart from that, there are some other styles also which I have just explained to you, which is expert style, manipulative style, bureaucratic style, and participative style. So, if we talk about the Likkert's four styles, number one is exploitative, that is authoritative. In this style, the management exploit the employees, because whatever they think they are doing it and they are not going to listen to anybody. Then in the second type of style, it is benevolent authoritative style. That means that you are taking the help of the employees also, but you are authoritative also, that whatever you are deciding, you are going to decide that thing and nobody else is going to do it or what. Then number three is known as consultative style. In this style you are talking to your employees in the decision making process, and on the basis of that, that you are taking some new ideas and you are setting the goals for the employees. Then number four is known as participative leadership style. In this participative leadership style, you are s- keeping certain standards and you are adhering to those standards, and you want that your employee should also work on that particular standards. So these are known as Likert four style. So if somebody asks you that what do you understand by Likert four styles of leadership, you can say that it is number one is known as exploitative authoritative, number two is benevolent authoritative, number three is consultative, and number four is participative leadership style. Then according to the research scientists Tenenbaum and Schmidt's continuum of leader behavior, they said that what is exactly leadership style. So they said the leader is an announcer. That means that you must be aware about this thing, that whenever the leaders are talking, they are talking in such a terms and in such a manner that everybody should follow the same thing. Leaders are as a seller. Of course, whenever you must have seen lot of politicians, what they are doing, they are a seller. They are selling the dreams to to the people, and on the basis of that they are convincing those people in such a manner that they will agree to those people. The leader as a clarifier, they usually clarify the thing in such a manner that the followers will follow them. Leader as a senior partner, as you know that whoever is the leader is one of the most senior most partner in that particular area. That means that whatever they are deciding, it has to be followed by the followers. The leader as a seeker, in some situations leader seeks help from the employees, or maybe leaders seek some help from the followers. So this is also one of the reason. Then legal as a leader as a equal partner. Equal partner means that whatever leader is saying, whatever leaders are deciding, they want their followers should be of equal in equal partnership with them, so that at least both people will decide the things together and then come to a particular conclusion. So a leader as a follower. That means that when we are talking about the leader, we are talking about the leader is a seller, clarifier, senior partner, announcer, equal partner. But in the last, they are saying leader is as a follower also. That means that whatever the discussions, whatever the things are coming in front of leader, he or she is working as a follower also, that okay, I am following some other person and on the basis of that I am giving this direction to the followers. Then there are some points which has to be remembered. That means that leadership styles, as I have discussed with you. Then I have talked to you Lickard's four style. Then Tenenbaum and Schmitz continue as a leadership behavior. Then leadership skills and techniques. There are few points which we are going to learn, that persuasion skills, motivational skills, conflict resolution skills, and leadership tactics. So in this, we are going to talk about the persuasion. What do you mean by persuasion? We are persuading some person in such a manner so that they will understand your thing. So here they are saying, considering a situation where a company has to take an important decision about funding a lucrative yet risky project. That means that on the one hand, company is thinking in those terms that if we are working on this particular project, we are going to get a lot of money, but the project is very risky. So in this situation, you have to learn how to persuade by analyzing whom to persuade. That means that when they are talking about persuasion, that means that you are talking to somebody and you are just trying to you know uh, Tell the person that whatever you are going to do is absolutely right, whether it is risky, but yes, it is very lucrative also. But this can only be taken care with the help of analyzing the situation to whom you are going to pursue. Suppose we are going for a particular project which is fetching lot of money, but it is a risky project. So you have to see that how you are going to pursue your senior bosses that okay, we are going to take up this project, and how you are going to come out with those projects effectively. So it is very very important that persuasion is also one of the skills which one person should have. That means the leader should have. Then how to persuade a skeptics. There are people who are really not interested in your projects, or they are not persuaded easily. So I have divided this thing into two parts. So according to that, the first part is skeptics are highly suspicious. These are the people who are very suspicious about a particular project, as I have given you as an example. So you have to gain as much as credibility you can gain from them. That means that you have to pursue them in such a manner that they feel that okay, whatever thing we are going to do, it is absolutely right. Then skeptics trust same backgrounds. That means they are trusting the same background. They are not going for anything new. So we have to find out something common with them. That means that whatever they are trusting, we have to identify that how we are going to pursue them. And then what are the common features which we have to take into consideration. Then they don't like oppositions or challenges thrown to them. Saprist people are really different type of people. They don't like challenges, and they don't like oppositions also. This is very problem, big problem. So in that situation, we have to handle them delicately. If they are wrong, correct smartly. Here they are saying that for these people who are not liking the challenges or who don't like the oppositions also, in that situation we have to tackle those people in such a manner that it should be very very delicate matter, and we have to handle them correctly and smartly also. Then how to persuade a charismatic person. So charismatic person are talkative and enthusiastic. So these are the people, you may find that these people are really talkative and enthusiastic. Whatever they are saying, whatever they are doing, they are very enthusiastic and they are very talkative. In that situation, we have to persuader should control the urge to match his enthusiasm. That means somebody is very energetic, very enthusiastic. In that situation, the person who is pursuing these people, they should match his enthusiasm, or maybe they have to control their enthusiasm in such a manner so that they will understand that okay, we have to do according to this. Then these charismatic people are looking for the facts to support their emotion. That means they usually look for the facts which can help them to support their emotions also. So in that situation, don't hide the facts. Discuss the risk with him or her. That means that in this situation, when the people are looking for the facts related with their emotions, in that situation, when you are pursuing those person, you have to see that how you are going to tackle with them, and don't hide the facts with them, and discuss the risk with him or her. That what are the risks you can face when you are pursuing the people. Then charismatic are short attention span. These charismatic people are very short attention span. That means that these people are having very short attention period. So you have to present the information at the earliest to them. So if we talk about the charismatic people, we have to see that whatever the information we are giving to them, we have to give the information at the earliest to them. Then, while deciding, they take suggestions from high profile executives. That means these are the people who usually take advices from high profile executives. Give them one and give time. That means that in this situation when they are taking advices from the high profile executive, in this situation when you are pursuing those people, you give one advice to them and then you have to give them some time so that at least they can discuss and think about it. Then how you are going to persuade the followers? So number one is followers really on past decision made. That means followers rely on the past decisions which are made. So in that, make them feel confident. Past decisions are, the followers are the people who usually work on that. They follow those things. So it is the role of the persuader to see that how you make them confident about the particular work to be done. Then they are saying that these followers fear making wrong choices. Sometimes it happens that when you talk about and you ask the followers to do the things, they fear making the wrong choices. So in that situation, you provide testimonials and take a safe dwell in past. That means in this situation, who are making wrong choices, they are having some fear in their mind that if they will do something, it will be wrong. So in that situation, you have to present them with the testimonials and safe dwell in the past. Then followers like proven and reliable ideas. The followers are usually liking the proven and the reliable idea. That means the ideas whichever you are going to give or pursuing them on a particular idea, you have to see that how the followers are going to look for that. So in that situation, we don't have to suggest out of box idea. That means that whatever the ideas they are having and whatever the reliable ideas they must be following it, we have to give the same ideas in different manner, but we are not going to give something which is out of box. Then how to persuade a charismatic Pankaj people? These charismatic people are, they are thinker, are more academic and logical people. As I have told you that charismatic people are more talkative, more enthusiastic. So in this situation, they are saying that they are more academic and logical people. So how you are going to persuade them? The persuader should communicate the drawbacks initially. That means that you have to tell them that on which particular work you are going to do or you want that they should follow you, you have to communicate the drawback of those things also. Then these people like arguments which are quantitative and backed by data. That means these are the people, charismatic people are those people who are trying to argue on each and every point with the quantitative data. So in that situation, what you can do is you can using the presentations and arguments to appeal their intelligence. That means that you are countering those people with the presentations and arguments of to appeal their intelligence. That means whatever intelligence they are having, you have to argue with them, you have to discuss with them, and then you have to give the presentation to them. Then these people don't forget bad experience and have contradictory views. That means that these are the people who don't forget the bad experiences. That is one of the reasons. So to them, you have to do one thing. You have to talk intellectually, and proposal should appear to be best option. That means that in this situation, who are not forgetting the past experiences and having the contradictory view on each and everything. In that situation, what you have to do, you have to talk to them intellectually, and proposal should appear to be best option for them. Then next is what is motivational skill. As I have talked to you about the charismatic people, now I'm going to talk to you about the motivational skill. What is that? How do you one ensures high level of enthusiasm and commitment during the bad times? Motivating people is not as easy as it sounds. When there is a bad time and you are trying to motivate the people, it is a tough task. It is not easy. there are different journal methods of motivation. Number one, truth as the highest virtue. That means whatever you are discussing with your followers, you should are telling the truth to those people. Desire to be great, there must be a desire to make them great people. Then communicate. That means that when you are motivating the people, you have to communicate in such a manner which will help you out in pursuing the people in better manner. Then sharing the burden of risk. In this situation, what will happen when you are talking to your followers, you have to share the risk with them also, because if you are just leaving everything to the followers, it will be difficult for them to come up with the uh, positive things. So in that situation, you have to share the burden of the risk so that they can also feel relaxed. Then motivating by caring, you have to care those people. That is also a motivational factor. Then motivating people at different levels. In the organization, if you talk about the organization, at each and every level, we have to motivate the people. That is also very, very important, and it is the role of the manager to see that. Motivating by setting difficult goals. That means that you are in such a you are going to motivate the people and set up certain tough goals for them, so that if the motivated people are there, definitely they are going to achieve those goals. And you have to motivate the people in time of crisis. This is very, very important point, because if there is a crisis in the organization, you have to see that how you are going to motivate your people to come up with those crises. Then frontline staff, how you are going to motivate those. You have to emotionally energize frontline people, but how you are going to do it? You can take the example of US Marine Corps or maybe Defense Force people. They invested time and energy to cultivate strong values. So if we talk about our defense forces people, they usually invested their time and energy to cultivate the strong values what they are working for. Encouraging to take up leadership position. You have to encourage those people, and you have to tell them or pursue them or communicate to them that you can become a manager also, or you can take a lead as a manager also in the organization if you are doing better work. Then clarity between the team and the leader. Yes, it is very, very important, because whenever you are discussing this thing with the people, there should be very, very clear things about them. Whatever you are talking, it should be clear, and it should be clear between the team members as well as the leader also. Then motivating the problem people. This is very, very important, because in most of the organization there are some people who are really problem creating people. So motivating lectures, cash incentives, or memos, etc. will be there. But do you think that it will be motivating all of them? And what about problem employees or difficult people? You have to learn about them, about yourself, and about the situation. That means that in this situation, you have to learn about those people who are problem creators. You have to learn about yourself also, how you are going to motivate those people, and you have to see that what are the situation on the basis of which you are going to motivate those people. When you are motivating the people, you must be having some sort of alternatives also. That okay, if you are meeting motivating the people, problem people, what they will do, they will give you the counter answer for that. So you must be having the alternative also for that. If they are taking the alternative, you have to give the third point also, then fourth point also. And in this situation with the problem people, you have to take a session one by one, not with the group. So if you're talking to people one by one, it will be easier for you to understand the thing, and it will be easier for you to see that how you can motivate the people. Then conflict resolution skill. This is the third point which we are going to talk about it. That what do you mean by conflict resolution skill? that there are a lot of people in the organization who are having a very good skills where they usually solve the conflicts. What do you do, and what are the skill which is required in the person who is good in conflict resolution? You should be good listener. You should be questioning the person. Your communication should be good. Non-verbal signs and mediation skills should be there. So these are 5 points one person should have regarding the conflict resolution. So if you want to resolve the conflicts among the people, you have to listen very carefully. Time to time you have to question those people also. Then should be some non-verbal signs also, which on the basis of it you can mediation skills, that how you are going to mediate between them. You must have heard about it then in HR, if there is a big conflict among the employees and the management. So this is the role of the HR to see that how they are going to resolve those things. So one person should have all these quality. On the basis of that, only they are in a position to deal with the conflict resolution skills. Then we can talk about the leadership tactics. What are the basic leadership tactics? They must be a model of power and influence. If you are a leader, you should become a role model of power and influence in front of your followers. Relationships beyond chain of command. That means identify the people who have to be led. That means in this situation, whatever the relationship you are creating or making, it should beyond the chain of command. That means there should be a command which is not changed together, right? That means the command should come, or the respect will come from the followers itself. So in that situation you have to identify the people who have to be led. Then how do leaders identify these relationships? They identify the people who may resist cooperation. Second step is, first of all, you have to identify the people who have to be led. That means who are going to become your follower. Then second is, you have to identify the peoples who may resist the cooperation. That means that whatever the cooperation you are seeking from them, they usually resist those cooperations. So how do leaders assess the power? Develop relationship with resisting parties. That means when you are assessing the power, you have to see that how you are going to develop the relationship with the resisting parties. Then how do leaders develop such relationships? Good relations and good communication. That means leaders create an image into the mind of the followers that they are very good communicator and they are having a good relationship with the people. So these are the leadership techniques which you have to take into consideration. I'll just brief you out that first of all, if somebody asks you what do you mean by leadership tactics, you have to say that we have to identify the people to whom we have to lead. Then we have to identify the people who may resist the cooperation. Then we have to develop a relationship with the resisting parties, as well as we have to create a good relationship and good communication among the people. Then a model of power and influence indicates that what are your relationship with your subordinates and what are your relationship with your superiors, and how do effective leaders deal with these superiors. That means if the leaders are good, how they are going to deal with their superiors. Evaluate your boss strength and weakness. This is one point. If the leader is good, they are going to evaluate the boss strength and weaknesses, and then you have to evaluate your strength and weaknesses also. Then you have to build a relationship and maintain it among your bosses. Then you have to communicate, utilize his time prudently. That means that whatever the communication you are going to do, whatever the relationship you are maintaining with the your seniors, you have to utilize his time. in a proper manner so that he will feel happy also. Then we talk about the model of effectiveness and influence. What do you mean by that? When we are talking about the effective model and the influence of that model, we are going to go for three type of settings. Number one is setting the agenda. This is the first point which we have to go for. Anything looking for the model of effectiveness and influence. You have to find out the agenda, then you have to build a network, then implementing the agenda. So there are 3 points which you have to take into consideration if you want to become an effective and influencing leader. First of all, you have to decide the agenda. What is your agenda and how you are going to deal with that agenda. And after that, you have to start your networking so that you can gather the information and you can gather the people also, and then you have to implement the agenda. This is the third point which you have to take into consideration when you are talking about the model of effectiveness and influence. So this is all about the uh, leadership style and the tactics. So if some, I'm quite sure that if somebody asks you about the leadership styles and the tactics, you are in a position to give the answer for that very effectively. So on the basis of which I have just put up some questions also, and I'm quite sure that you are in a position to give the answers of those questions. Let's take few questions. Underline is increasing leadership rapidly. Strategy, command, control, getting others to follow. Number two is regarding leadership, which statement is false? Leadership does not necessarily take place within a hierarchical structure of an organization. When people operate as leaders, their role is always clearly established and defined. Not every leader is a manager, and all of the above. Then question says the effectiveness of a leader is dependent upon meeting underlying areas of need within the work group. One, three, five, none of the above. Need setting standards and maintaining discipline and appointing sub-leaders according to Adair's approach called as work function, task function, individual functions or team function. So these are the question. I think if you just think about the leadership styles and the tactics, you are in a position to give the answer for each and every question. There are few more questions which I have just put up here. Identify the four main style of leadership. This is the question displayed by the manager which identify in Tenenbaum and Smith's continuum of possible leadership behavior. Number one is tells, helps, joins, and lead. Number two is commands, sells, consults, and resist. Number three tells, sells, consult, and join. And number four commands, help, join, and lead. So you have to just think over it, and on the basis of that, you are in a position to give the answer for that. Then there is another question which says leadership with a low LPC score gains satisfaction from underline according to Fiedler's LPC scale. Developing team relationship, achieving objectives, both of this or none of the above. So these are few questions which I have just given to you. So if you can just attend these questions, you can refresh your all the things which I have discussed just now. So this is all from my side. Thank you very much for today.